Okay, my screen is maximized. Okay, let's go to, can you go to the PowerShell? Right click on the PowerShell and says, click on the PowerShell. I'll close this. Click on the PowerShell. Now what we're going to do, we're going to copy a file that is usually located in the system folder of Microsoft Windows operating system, in the System32 folder. That's what we're going to do. Now take note, what we want to do is that we want to test the mirrored volume we created earlier on to see if indeed by using a virtual machine, by using a virtual hard drive, we can actually use a mirrored volume to fail over. Remember, this is a typical example of RAID 1, which is mirrored volume, right? Where two disks are mirrored to each other, right? One of them, when you upload content into one of the disks, that content is automatically replicated to what? The other disk. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to type, let's confirm our disk later. Go to computer. It's J. Excuse me. Okay, so our letter is J. I'll tell you, our letter is J. So what we're going to do, we're going to type now, copy. We're going to type the word copy, space C, double colon, backward slash Windows, backward slash system 32, backward slash right, .exe. We'll put a space and the J. J is the letter of our mirrored volume. Is that not correct?
Yes.
Okay. We'll put double colon and we'll put. Now we're putting this backward slash empty because the file will be copied directly to the hard drive. Are we together? If we wanted the drive to be copied directly to a particular folder, then we'll type the folder name there. Are we together? So press enter. Okay, let's confirm that our file is being copied. We'll go to and open drive C. Do we have the file there? Do we have the file there? Okay, we've confirmed that the file is there. So the next step we're going to do, we're going to try to go to the iSCSI disk, which is a physical disk, and we're going to disconnect. We're going to disconnect one of the disks. Huh? Are we together? Okay. Now, if we go to the server manager, back to storage pool, you'll notice that the two disks are still available. Is that not correct? Huh? Did you see they are still available? Okay, in this task, we are supposed to remove the first physical disk. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to we're going to shut down the PC now. Close this. We'll go to settings. And we're going to shut it down. So we're going to shut down the computer. And we'll go back to the virtual box. And we'll come to, we'll click on our operating system. We go to settings. We'll go to storage. That's VHD1. Is that not correct? Is that VHD1? Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to try to remove this. Huh? Okay. So can we remove attachment? Can we remove attachment? How many disks do we have there? So let's say, for example, the physical drive failed. But let's see if we'll still be able to retain our content. Remember, it was the two disks that was involved in creating the mirrored volume, right? Okay, so let's click OK. So let's start our computer. Okay, the virtual machine is starting up. So we're going to confirm if everything is in order. Now, actually, what I'm doing is I'm trying to do the physical aspect. Are we together? I would have done it on the virtual machine by just right-clicking on one of the physical disks and clicking remove. Are we together? So I just decided to do the physical aspect so that in a real environment, definitely is the physical disk that will be failing. Is that not correct? You know, sometimes most of these IT technicians, they do experience problem with the SATA cable. You know, most times when you have a problem with your SATA your SATA signal cable on your computer system, you notice that when you boot your computer, it tells you that a hard drive cannot be found, right? When you change the signal cable, everything comes, you can be able to find the drive on your BIOS. Now, in most scenarios, when you have issues like that, it's always the physical disk. So what I did now was to give an example of how in a real world scenario, when a physical disk fails, meaning it's out of connection, meaning there's no interaction between the operating system and the disk. This has nothing to do with software problem, this is a hardware problem. But then we did create a mirrored volume. So what I want to try to do is to see if that mirrored volume is still there and if we can still be able to retain our content. Okay, let's log in now. Click on Control-Alt-Delete. We enter our password. Okay, signing in. Okay, the next step we're going to do now is to verify if indeed we still have our drive there and our content is still there. So for best practice, you want to make sure your server manager loads up and it's completely refreshed, so that in case of any changes that needs to take place will be done appropriately. Okay, everything is done. Okay, still loading. Mine is still loading. Okay. Now, what we want to do, I want us to go to the file and storage services. Can you click on that? Now, I want us to go to storage pool. You notice there's an error there. Is that not correct? Can you see the error there? It says warning, there's a loss of what? Connection. If you also come, it says what? What is it saying? The one is what? The what? Of course, when you degrade something, it's like reducing. Is that not correct? Meaning there's a reduction. So what we're going to do now, let's go back. Let's go to our Explorer. Let's go to Computer. Do we still have our J there? Okay, can you open it? Is our file still there? Yes. It's exactly, that's the way a mirrored volume works. But remember, when you're doing a mirrored volume, you don't join the disk. You take one part. Let's say, for example, if I have, I want to create a mirrored volume of 20 gig. Meaning, how many hard drives should I get? How many? I should get 40. Is that not correct? 20 will be the first disk. 20 will be what? The second disk. Is that not correct? When you make a mirrored volume, take note, when you're doing a mirrored volume, you want to make sure that the disks that you're mirroring, they are exactly the same size. So that the amount of data that is contained in the first disk will be mirrored to the amount of data that is contained what? In the second disk. Are we together? So let's say, for example, remember what we fed was not the second disk. What we fed was what? The first one. Remember, the first disk is where we earlier on copied the content into. But as a mirrored volume, that content is what? Mirrors to where? The second disk. But if you notice, we didn't work with these two physical disks. We actually worked with what? The virtual what? The virtual hard drive. Remember, the virtual hard drive is a single disk. But on the back end is a what? A mirrored disk. Do we get the gist? It's one disk. It appears as a single disk on the disk management. Let's go to the disk management. Go to tools, go to our computer management, so that I show you exactly what I'm trying to explain. In the previous, if you were to use Server 2003, Server 2008, if you were to create a mirrored volume on the disk management, you will probably see these two physical disks. That is the software RAID. But in this case, we are actually using the physical hard drive to create a single virtual disk with storage pool, which is the features, but it's a mirrored volume. But it's a single disk, but tied to what? Two physical hard drive. Now, if you click on disk management now let's scroll down. You notice you don't see any sign of those two. You don't see any sign of the two disks. Did you see any sign of the two disks? Because you notice we only have disk 0 and what? Disk 2. Now, remember, after disk 0, what's the next disk? Disk 4. What's the other one? Disk 2. But now we've taken out what? We've taken out disk 1, right? Now we are left with what? Disk 2. Are we together? Now, if you notice there, disk 2 is saying what? 8 gig. Can you see it there? But this is a mirrored volume of two physical disks we earlier on what? Created. So the physical disk is something like it's isolated, but it's there in the system, but it's isolated from being detected by the disk management. What the disk management is detecting is this. Is detecting this, right? Which is this virtual disk, which we created a volume that was then attached to the physical disk. Are we together? So these are some of the nice features of Server 2012. Okay, and the next thing we're going to be doing, it's file services. I did explain that before. We're going to be doing file services. So we're going to be using dynamic access control, like I did mention in the class. The claims, we're talking about claim type, the access control, the resource properties, the global properties, and user claim and device claim. We're going to be talking about those things later on. Okay, guys, that's all for today. You can shut down your computer now.